Okay, how's everybody doing this evening? Of course, my name is Kent, and it doesn't look like I'm going to get a sunset tonight because there's too many clouds. What I'd like to do is come out here and show you how many nights this time of year it's cloudy and you don't get any sunsets. When you get sunsets, it's really spectacular. That's the sunsets over the ocean. But tonight we're getting some really nice sunlight coming down through the clouds. It almost looks, it's almost angelic. You know, like you get these sunlight, the sun rays coming through the clouds. It looks really kind of, like I say, angelic, almost kind of like spiritual with the way it happens. A few surfers out tonight, not too many, but all in all, pretty nice evening. Very nice evening. A lot of people walk along this what would you call it? It's actually a sidewalk. We're up about 150 feet over the ocean here. It's kind of a nice walk because you get a good view of everything. So, and a lot of surfers are out there surfing this time of year. So what I want to talk about tonight is I want to talk about the Great American Dream. How that Great American Dream is starting to turn into the Great American Nightmare. And when we say American Dream, what we usually are thinking is that in our country, we feel like we should always do better than the previous generation. So you're going to end up having a better life, quality of life than your parents. Your parents will end up having a better quality of life than your grandparents, and so on and so forth. And that's always kind of what we strive for in the United States of America, is that things are getting better for each and every generation. And we may be right now in generations, in fact, I know we're going to be in generations, we are in generations now, where that will not be the case, where you're not going to be doing as well as your parents, and you will not own what your parents had. You will not have all the material things and a high quality standard of life that your parents had, and that's happening right now in this generation. And the way I'd like to define that is very simple. I mean, a lot of people, they'll go into all the numbers. Oh, we got a great big old trade deficit with China, and taxes are going up, and they give you all the numbers, which are very boring. Trade deficits, taxes, trade imbalances, all those things like that. But if you really want to boil it down to just a few words, so it's not something that's just numbers, it's very simple. The very simple way of describing what's happening to us in the United States of America is you will own nothing very soon. Let this helicopter go past. So very soon in the United States of America, you're not going to own anything. You're not going to own your house. You're not going to own your car. You're not going to own your family farm, a little plot of land someplace. You're not going to own anything. We're going that direction very quickly. So you're not going to be able to own anything. You will own nothing. Because you won't be able to afford it, because there's going to be such a wide gap between the people that have something and the people that don't have something. You can see that right now in California with the housing. If you don't own a home and you're not making $250,000, $300,000 a year, there's a very, very good chance you're not going to be able to ever own a home in California, because of how quickly these houses are appreciating in value. And so that's out of reach for the people that are just graduating college now. They're going out in the housing market, that are trying to buy a house, especially with high interest rates. You're never going to it's just not going to happen. So you're never going to own a home like your parents owned. And what's happening is those people that do own that property, your parents, their wealth is growing because the houses keep going up, because the houses go up in value because they keep printing money. And the money you have to have more and more money to buy what you used to buy from previously. So every year, as they print another trillion, they have some more quantitative easing, more and more trillions get printed. The price of those houses just keep going higher and higher and higher. And there's really nothing they're going to do to stop it, because the only way you can stop it is you have to have a reset. You have to crash the system and start all over again. And that's not going to happen, because we are so vested in what we're doing that there's no way that they're going to unwind everything and let it go back. And what that would do is be reset, so everybody now, that owns a house, if the price goes down and they can't afford it, they'll have to sell the house as prices drop. And then the younger generation, if they're working and they're in the time of their lives where they're making money, the really high product times, their years of their lives, they'll be able to afford those things. And the people that are older, they can't afford it because they can't afford the payments, or they can't afford it if the price goes down and they have to sell it because they're upside down in their mortgage or whatever. So that's not going to happen. They're not going to let this thing reset. In fact, they're very happy to let it keep going the way it's going, which is a big, huge wealth discrepancy. Because the people that have money right now, that own a few things, houses and real estate or whatever, stocks, bonds, whatever they own. They don't want the system to change. They like the fact that every year their house appreciates 10%. They like the fact that the stock market keeps setting all-time highs. They like the fact that that they don't have to do anything but set on their property or the real estate or their assets, and they continue to have a really high standard of living that way. So that's what's happening. So the net effect of the great American dream becoming the great American nightmare is the fact you won't own anything. And of course, what does that mean? That means that if you don't own anything, you have no pride of ownership. You have no pride of ownership, and you're probably not going to try as hard. As I was growing up, you always had to compare yourself to the communist countries. The communist countries, where the state owned everything, people didn't put in that extra effort because why? Why do I do that? I mean, everybody gets the same. Everybody lives in the same crappy state home housing. Everybody owns this crappy state car. Nobody has. So why put any extra effort into it? So it's going to really create an environment where there's not going to be as much creativity if people don't own anything and people don't have any pride of ownership, or they're not able to put the extra effort in to have something more than everybody else. So that's what's going to happen. And on the trajectory we're at right now, if nothing else changes. In fact, it's going to get much, much worse. We're at an accelerated pace right now. It's happening very fast. The other thing that's going to happen, not only will you not own anything, but because you don't own anything, you will not be able to give anything away after you die. So if you own nothing, your kids will own nothing, because most people in this country, Donald Trump, made most of their money by inheritances. So a guy like that, he got to where he's at in life because somebody passed it to him from another generation. If you don't have it, and this generation coming up right now isn't going to have it because they can't afford it, because prices have gotten so high because of the way our money gets printed out of nothing and the way our system operates, you won't have anything, so you can't pass anything on to your children, and of course your children won't have anything. So we're actually creating an entire class of people right now that are going to never have any kind of ability to rise above the most basic standards of living. So you're never going to be able to get any higher than what everybody else is, which is you don't own anything. You don't own a car, you don't own a house, you don't own a business, you don't own anything. And you're not going to have anything, so you can't pass anything on. So you'll never be able to get into that wealth class. So we're creating that kind of thing that the founders of this country tried to avoid, which is you have the super wealthy, the monarchs, the people that owned everything, the lords and the serfs, and then you had the peasants, and we're quickly turning that into this country. We're turning instead of having a vibrant middle class, we're turning everybody into the peasants, where there's always going to be a great wealth disparity, a discrepancy between the wealthy and the people that don't have anything. And of course, if you can't accumulate wealth and pass it on to the next generation, they're not going to have anything. And that's what made this country special. That's what separated this country from other countries in the world. That's what separated this country from communist countries in the world, was that when you die in a communist country, your property goes to the state, or whatever you own goes to the state. I don't think that's so much true anymore, because I think what's going on in the Soviet Union, Russia, is they just have these. It's run by a few people that monopolize the country by being very. They're kind of the I wouldn't say, the mafia, but something similar to that, where you got, a few of these people like Putin and some of these guys, that they own everything, and the reason they own everything is because they're kind of thugs, and they're able to get people, or they're able to accumulate wealth that way. But most people, they just exist. So yeah, that's what we're going through. We're happy. That's happening right before our eyes right now. Is this? We're turning our country into what happened, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, across Europe, which is you're going to have peasants and you're going to have the wealthy people, and there's not going to be any in between, and there's not going to be any chances of pulling yourself out of that poorer class of people. You just won't be able to do it, because if you can't accumulate wealth and pass it on to the next generation, it's really difficult to accumulate wealth in one generation, enough so to really make it so that you really do have endless wealth. You have wealth that you can pass on for generation after generation, and you really, the benefit, your heirs benefit from that, and basically your heirs will get to the point where they don't have to really do anything because all they do is live off of generational wealth that was created years and years ago from previous generations. That's going away very quickly, and we're moving to that direction faster than we all know, and it's happening in a way that none of us can really. I mean, we kind of still see things the way they used to be, but at the same time, it's changing very quickly, and I expect it to change very fast because the quicker we go down this road, the more they're going to have to do in order to maintain what it is that they're doing. So right now they have so many things that they are trying to support. Wars around the world, and so many social programs, so many different things. And they're going to have to start supporting, I think, a lot of the people in the working class. So when you're making $20 an hour, and you can't afford your rent, or you can't afford a car, you can't afford anything. They can't afford not to have you work because you got to work because we have no economy if you don't work. So what they have to do is they're going to have to start supporting you with some sort of stimulus payments or some sort of universal basic income. And the further we go down that road, then the more money they will print, and then you'll see even a further wealth between the two, the wealthy and the people that don't have wealth. There'll be a bigger separation. The more UBI, universal basic income, the more stimulus, the more they do, then you'll see a further and further separation between the peasants and the people that have money. And that's the direction we're going right now. And this is happening very, very fast. I'll give you a quick example. In 2020, I had my car worked on, and I took it down to the dealership, and the dealership did a fantastic job. In fact, actually, I had to separate a gas tank on my car. And they actually called the manufacturer of the car, and they got it paid for. It was an expensive gas tank. And they got it paid for. The guy went to bat for me with the dealership. He went to the auto manufacturer. He got them to pay for the gas tank, even though the car was, 8-10 years old. They still got it paid for. And he did everything. He really worked. He really worked for me. He really went to work for me, and helped me get the bill down, get good deals, and get things done. And I really felt like he was on my side. Well, recently I had my car work on again. Of course, it's 2024 versus 2020, and a whole different, same dealership. Now they have a different group of people in there. People that were there in 2020, most of them have either retired or quit or done something. Now they got a whole nother younger group of people there, and I can just tell that they just don't care like they did the first time I was there. They don't follow up. They don't communicate with me. They don't help me try to get things taken care of, maybe warranted or something like that. Everything is just a nightmare, and they're rude. They have no customer service. They don't care, and I can understand why. When you're working in every day and you're not getting anywhere, you don't have any value for your job. So that's just the way they do everything. It's just they just don't care about the job, and they don't care about what they're doing. And it really showed up in 4 years' time. From 2020 to 2024, I saw an incredible difference in the way I was treated then and the way I was treated and the way I'm being treated right now. And that's actually the results of what's happened in our world in the last 4 years, from 2020 to 2024. And I think what happened is when you shut down the world during 2020 and you realize everybody's dispensable and they can work from home, you bring them back to work. Now everybody just feels like they just don't have the feelings of importance like they did before that. So 2020 did a lot of damage to this world. It did a lot of damage to the worker. It did a lot of damage to the way people felt about work and the way they felt about their jobs. And now we're kind of reaping that. We're harvesting those, what that was all about. We're starting to see, 3 or 4 years later, we're starting to see how that actually affected our world. Not very well, and it's not been very good. It's not going in the right direction. And right now, I'm sitting here, shop hours, on the vehicle that I'm having worked on, $260 an hour for that shop to work on my car. $260 an hour. I got to go back and see what the shop rate was in 2020. But come on, man, how in the world can you pay $260 an hour to have a car worked on? That's what they're doing. They're going to make it so everybody has to get rid of their car and buy some EV, because you can't afford to keep your older car on the road, even though I don't want to get an EV and I don't want to get a newer car because I like my car. I don't want all the computerized stuff. I like the way my car works. It doesn't shut down when something. The new cars, you have a bulb go out on your tail light and the whole car shuts down. I don't want that. In fact, they gave me a loaner car while my car's being worked on, and I hated it. It has, I grew up on a farm, so I used to working with a lot of junk. And, when I pull up to a stop sign and the car stops, I think, oh my gosh, the car died and it's not going to restart. Now all these new cars, you go at the stop sign, then the car dies, and then it has to restart itself before you can go. Now I think that's not a good design for a whole bunch of reasons. First of all, I think it's hard on the equipment, it's hard on the starter, it's hard on the engine when you got to stop it and start it every time you stop at a light or stop at a stop sign. I don't think that's a good plan at all. Plus, I don't like the way it feels in the car because it's got to restart. And the way this car worked, and it was not a cheap car. It was a Mercedes-Benz SUV. I mean, I don't know what the manufacturer list on that was, but it was not a cheap car. I mean, we're not talking about a really, really cheap car here. We're not talking about, a low-end car. This was a high-end car that I was driving, and I hated it. In fact, I couldn't wait to get it back to the dealership because the car. I didn't like the fact that the car stopped every time I stopped at a light. I didn't like the fact that when I did put it in gear, and it has that stupid thing on the turn signal. It's like you put that in gear, and it kind of falls back a little bit, and then it goes forward. It doesn't just stay still. I didn't like that at all. So there's a whole bunch of things I didn't like. So I don't want to get a new car. I want to keep my car. I just want some service, and I want a reasonable rate when I take it down to get it worked on. And I don't want to get jabbed like I'm getting jabbed right now with having something worked on that I'm trying to keep on the road, because I think it's better quality than what they're building now. And I think while they're working out all their EV problems, battery problems, and all that other stuff, I'd rather stick with the stuff I know I can count on. So that's the world we're in right now, unfortunately, and it's heading that way in a big way, fast. I don't know if there's anything we can do to turn it around. I honest to God don't. The only thing I tell people, and people, hopefully younger kids, because I got sons, I got daughter, my kids are trying to make it in this world. The only thing I tell them is, look, I think the real opportunity for today's generation, that's the name of the channel, is Bitcoin Grinder, is that you got to stick some money in something like a digital asset, digital Bitcoin. And a lot of people roll their eyes and stuff like that, but they don't understand it. And if they understood it, they realize that it's a finite amount. It's not like the US dollar where they can just print as many as they need when they want it. Just have the feds print it, have the feds buy the treasuries, and we just keep the game going. And the longer we keep the game going, the further the people, the haves and the haves not, are getting separated from each other. And that's where we're at right now, the haves and the haves not. And the have-nots aren't winning very well. In fact, they're getting killed. They're getting destroyed, and we're getting to have fewer and fewer of the haves. And you get a guy like the Republican guy, you get him in office, and he's really going to rewrite the rule book. And he's going to rewrite the rule book so the people that are in power will never leave power, and they'll stay in power forever. And you're not going to have a system where you can, the newer, younger generation can have a place at the table. They're never going to have a place at the table, because they can write the rule book so that they can make it however they want to make it, and that's what's going to happen. Especially with a lot of people discouraged with the system right now. And it is broken. I'm not saying it's not broken. I'm completely concur with the fact that something needs to be done. I just don't know who it is that needs to fix it. And I don't think we should just say, hey, the lesser of two evils, because that's what everybody's doing. Hey, the lesser of two evils. This guy's bad, but the other guy's worse. And that's kind of the way everybody talks. Hey, it's, I don't like this guy, but that guy's worse. And that's just kind of what we're doing. And the default system of the lesser of two evils is not the way to fix the problem. And that's what's happening right now. And it's happening in a very quick way. So I'm getting close to 19 minutes, which is longer than most of my videos. But I'm passionate about this thing because it's really bothering me. I was 64 years old the other day. My better days are behind me, but I'm really worried about the future, and I'm worried about how it's going to turn out, because, I don't want my children to go through, some really difficult times. Nobody wants that for their children. I mean, I see these kids in Ukraine, and I call them kids because they are kids, that are out there fighting in that war and dying, in the thousands, in the tens of thousands, not even seeing any action. I mean, you don't even see any action. They lob an artillery shell in from 5 miles away, and bang, it blows up, your whole group of guys, and they all just get killed. I just don't want to see bad things happen to the younger people, and I don't want to see hard times. I don't want to see people. I was very fortunate to grow up. I was born in 1960. I was very fortunate to grow up in very good years. I didn't have to see any war. I did not have to see hard, difficult times. I always had a bed to sleep in. I always had food to eat. As a dog. I always had I didn't have to worry about, too many things outside of just taking care of the things I needed to take care of. I didn't have to worry about waking up and having the roof taken off the building that I was living in because of some mortar attack or some bombings from somebody that was trying to destroy my neighborhood. So I didn't have to worry about any of that stuff. And I don't want that for the new generation. I don't want that for the younger kids. I want them to be healthy, prosperous. I want them to be happy, and I want them to have an opportunity to enjoy life like I had an opportunity to enjoy life. So anyway, enough of that. I'm going to show you, turn around the camera for a second, say goodbye to you, and hopefully I'll have another video for you tomorrow. Okay, hopefully that works. Get a shot of me with the Pacific Ocean behind me, and have a good evening. Thanks.